We're pretty proud, and it's pretty cool that you took the time for us to chat a little bit about the new album, the new sound, guitar ways, effects, songwriting, arrangements. But first of all, let's start with the album name, because we're really thinking and guessing now what's behind the album name, Apocalyptic Love.
It's a song that was sort of tongue-in-cheek song that was, the subject was sex on the eve of the apocalypse. Yeah, apocalyptic love. You know, that last ditch effort at making, you know, before the end of the world. It was a joke.
Serious?
Yeah. And you know, what would you do if it was the 2013, you know, December 31st, and the next day is the end of the world? You'd probably want to get laid, you know? It was one of those kind of...
Most definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the name of the song, which when I was making the record, I couldn't think of like a one word or a sentence or a phrase that really encapsulated the whole album, you know, that really sort of was indicative of what the album sounded like. So then I thought, well, I don't want to call it /2. So I thought, well, let's use a song off the record, and Apocalyptic Love was a good title, and it was the first song that me and Miles wrote, so there you go.
You just named Miles. The last album contained a lot of guest stars, a lot of guest singers. Was it a kind of orientation that finally brought up Miles as the most qualified singer, most good felt singer, whatever?
Well, when I was doing the last record and I was working with all those different singers, you know, I made that whole record before I even met Miles. And when I had these two songs that were left over, I might have told you this the last time I met you guys, but I had two songs left over that didn't have any vocals, and I could never, the whole time I was making the record, think who was going to sing those two songs. So here I am at the end of the record, and there's those same two songs, still no singer. And I thought, you know, I've been hearing a lot about this Miles Kennedy guy, and I'd never met him, but I've been hearing a lot about him. So I thought, well, let's just take a chance and I'll give the song to him and see what happens. So I contacted him, I talked to him on the phone, and I told him what I was doing, and he said, cool, and I sent him the song. And about a week later, he sent it back, you know, and I pressed play, and it came on, and I was like, I wasn't sure what to expect. And he started singing it, and it was fucking great. So I thought, okay, this is something. I'm going to fly him out to L.A. We'll record this for the album, right? So we did that, but we met for the first time. And you've met Miles before, yeah? Mm-hmm. All right, very nice, easygoing, very humble. And so I really took to him right away. And so we recorded the song, and then after that I asked him to do my second one. And he recorded that, and it was back from Cali. And so at that point I asked him, you know, I'm doing a tour to support this record, and I need somebody who can sing songs off this record, a couple Snake Pit songs, some Velvet Revolver stuff, a couple GNR songs. And he said, sure, I'm on a break from Alter Bridge, I'll do it. So I got Miles, and I got Brent Fitz and Todd Kearns and Bobby Schneck, and we all got together and rehearsed for a week, some 20-some odd songs, and we just had that instantaneous chemistry. Mm-hmm. And so I took Miles, we all went on the road, I took Miles on the road, and you know, it was a really fucking great tour, and the tour got bigger and bigger, and the people started to become very aware, the awareness of the band started to expand, and we did like a couple tours of Europe, we did like 3 tours of Australia, 2 tours of Asia, tour of South America. We played all these great places, a couple tours in the States, and it just snowballed and got bigger and bigger. And so I thought, if I was going to do a record, you know, another album, I would just do it with this band, right? It would make sense. And so Miles and I started writing songs together, and that's how we ended up doing this record.
That's quite interesting, because people recognize Miles in the first place as a singer, as a performer and singer. That he is a good guitar player as well, people don't know probably that much.
He was a guitar player before he was a singer.
Yeah, but people recognize him as a singer.
Well, of course, because he doesn't. I mean, that's if you sing, that's what you do. If that's how people hear you all the time, they don't really pay attention to your guitar playing, unless you're up front and in that kind of guitar player, you know. But he's a phenomenal guitar player, and I think he started singing for the same reason that God knows I should probably sing, because we could never find singers that were any good, so he started singing himself, you know. But I hate singing, so I never did that, you know. But luckily, I found Miles, so it's all good.
So how can we imagine you two guys, sitting down and writing songs?
We do it. We devised a sort of. It's not. We didn't really think about it. The system that we started from when we did Starlight and Back from Cali, I just come up with an idea. Maybe write an arrangement, or maybe it's just 3 parts, right? But I'm very much a composer more than a songwriter. I make music parts that all work together, but melodically, I can hear vocals. So I come up with whatever, and I give it to Miles, and he can do whatever he wants with it. And so he very quietly sits in his hotel room and comes up with melodies and all this stuff. And then we get together and we flesh it out.
Together with the rest of the band, or
no, just the 2 of us, and then this is on the road, right? And then when the tour, on this record, because we were playing 6 nights a week, and toured for like a year and a half, we were doing like 6 nights a week, sometimes a different country every night. So we didn't have a lot of time to work with any like sound checks. Like Apocalyptic Love was written at sound check. You're a Lie was written at sound check. But when the tour was over, I got together with Brent and Todd while Miles was touring with Alter Bridge, and worked up the recordings that Miles and I had made, you know, the demos that he and I made, and then I worked it up with the guys in the band.
That's kind of really interesting. If we talk about songwriting, people know Miles singing with Alter Bridge, touring with Alter Bridge. That has never seemed to be a problem for anybody, not for you, not for Mark Tremonti. But that brings me up to ask you about, and it's quite a hard question for me, because you're such a famous guitar player for everybody who is playing electric guitar in the world, but you seem to improved so much, and I don't mean it in an arrogant way. It seems that you improved technically. I mean, did you hang out with Yngwie and Mark Tremonti at the same time?
No. Well, I mean, I'd like to think that you know, like, I think I've always had potential from the day I first started. Like, I always had a thing for guitar, but it's like, you know, you have those moments where you play really great, but they don't happen all the time, you know. And especially in my Guns days, you know, I mean, there was a certain innocence to that guitar playing where you know, it's good, but sometimes it wasn't good every day. It was good on occasion. You know, there was a lot of distractions in Guns N' Roses. But I think when I after Velvet Revolver and I sort of got my shit straight, I put all my extracurricular sort of pastimes that I had, and I quit some of those. I put all my energy into guitar playing, and so I think being focused and doing nothing but hanging out with my guitar and playing every night, you know, is sort of made me a little bit more conscientious of guitar player.
We listened to the new record and we go like, fuck, he's doing that neoclassical thing, you know?
Even on stage when you were at Berlin, I think there was such a, like Yngwie Malmsteen stuff going on sometimes. I don't know if you realized it, maybe it's in your memory of your youth or something like that.
I don't think, you know, like I try to broaden my horizons a little bit, but it's all basically the same stuff. But I think I've just gotten a little bit more fluid at it, or whatever. I don't know. And I've been having a good time lately. So when I have a good time when I'm playing or with the guys I'm playing with, then it frees me up to really sort of enjoy my playing better. I get really affected by what kind of sort of shit's going on around me when I jam sometimes.
You recorded this in the studio, your solo parts, and that was something that both of us, we were like, that is like first take shit. I mean, it's so cool and it's so in the pocket, and the sound is raw and so present. And I I remember you saying that you weren't quite satisfied with the guitar sound that you had back at the Velvet Revolver albums.
That one especially, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because, it's like I won't sit there and tweak amps for 6 hours or all day.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no fucking way. You set it up and you make a couple adjustments. If that head doesn't work, get another one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe go through 3 heads tops, and one of them's going to have to work, and you just make it happen. But the biggest problem I had with Velvet Revolver was just all the pro tooling that they did behind my back.
Right.
That just killed me. I caught them doing it one day. We had an engineer, that's all he did all night long after the session was over, was tweak shit around on Pro Tools. And it took all the life out of it, and it dulled the whole sort of approach, not just the guitar sound, but just the attack of the whole thing. So, on my last record, I used the same system of playing with the guys, playing with the band in the room, and then going back in the control room and recording the guitar parts. And I was really happy with the last record. But this time around, and I was working with Eric Valentine again, who's a fucking awesome producer, engineer, But this time around, I'd always said that I want to play live in the studio. And every time I ever want to do it, they're always concerned about the bleed on the drums and this and that. And this has been going on since 1986. All right, and so he devised a system where he built this room in the studio where the bass and the drums are, and so in that room I can play without headphones, and I have monitors that are where the playback's coming through. So the live mix is coming out with my guitar and with the bass and the drums just through these monitors in this room.
And you have the Marshalls cranked up?
Yeah. Well, no, the Marshall's not in there. Marshall's still in another room.
Okay.
But the mix is coming up, but it's a live sounding mix. It doesn't sound. Headphones are really puny, and I just don't. I don't play good with headphones. So I'm hearing the live mix, so I'm playing live, and we just keep the whole thing, and that really gives it that. There's a certain energy that you get from playing with the band, just the way that you play is more by the seat of your pants. You don't have a second chance. You have to just fucking go for it, and it's also spontaneous. So you're feeling off the band, and everything just sort of works together, which is the essence of what rock and roll is, right? So that was a great thing for me to do on this record, and that's why you just get one take, but it's with the group. It's not going in and doing it later. The energy difference between doing it in the control room and doing it, live is huge.
I know that you're a Marshall guy, and Jim Marshall passed away.
Yeah.
And it's quite really, really sad, and got around the world. And the sound of Marshall you're using since, I don't know, since ever. You never tried another amp, is that right?
I mean, I've tried different amps, especially when I was younger, because I couldn't afford a fucking Marshall.
You played Mesa Boogie.
I had a Mesa for a minute. Different Fenders. I had. I remember having a Sun Beta Lead way back in the day. But Marshalls, I think, is what I always aspired to, because I mean, obviously, it's an amp that everybody uses. I mean, how many variations on that tone you can come up with is it, but it's a Marshall's sort of like a Les Paul. You can do a lot of things with it. You just have to know what you're looking for. And so I've always found I was most comfortable with a Marshall, and I have tried stuff since, but it's like it's taking me in a whole different direction,
I thought about you being actually one of the latest guitarists who came together with Marshall, but one of the biggest, actually.
Yes.
Like one of the biggest ambassadors.
One of the latest heritage guitar hero dudes.
Maybe.
So cool.
It was cool. I mean, the first artist model that they ever came out with was my model.
Yeah,
that was a huge thing for me,
Yeah.
But Jim was always really, really cool to me, Like when I first met him was in the 90s and early 90s. And that was back when I was using the Jubilee Anniversary Series Marshalls, right? And in 1991 we had that riot, and all my amps were totaled. And so Jim and I met, and he said, Slash, why don't we just put together a Slash model head? We'll take the best of the Jubilee series, and we'll take the best of the JCM 800s, and we'll make your own. And I was so grateful. I mean, that was so sweet of him. But we've been friends all the way up until the very end, And, he's one of the great icons of this industry, one of the guys who produced a piece of gear that is the standard of the rock and roll business. Everybody uses, anybody who is a great fucking rock and roll guitar player, chances are is using a Marshall, has used a Marshall at some period in their career, or or still uses them. And anytime you see a fucking guy with doing a guitar solo, you see a big stack behind him. It's a Marshall usually, even nowadays. So anyway, he really did something amazing, just like Les Paul did with the guitar, and Leo Fender did with the guitar, and one of those guys. And so I'm really proud to have at least been able to know him for the 20 years I got to know him.
Who did the first step? Was it he really got the idea with the amplifier, or did you never? How did your relationship evolve actually?
Well, that was. I mean, he and I first met in England. Obviously, I went down to the factory. He took me on this great big tour, and we had a great time meeting with the employees and the guys who build the amps and stuff. And then right after that is when he came and said, "You know what? Why don't we build you your own head?"
Wow. Okay.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
he even got the head before Zach Wild.
Yeah.
Zach got it later on.
Yeah, he was the next guy.
Yeah.
And actually, as I heard, you were the only guy who got his Marshall free, like this little 5-watt thing.
Yeah.
This is it. He always sold the amps.
I know.
Even Jimmy had to buy them.
I know.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean,
he must have loved you, man.
He really, like I said, he really took care of me. I mean, it was like I might have been in a big band, but because of a certain Guns N' Roses, whatever, I didn't have a lot of money, and so he gave me a certain amount of heads on the road for free.
Wow.
And now, but I still buy he'll give me, if we do a new model with my name on it, he felt obligated to give me a couple of my own.
Okay.
Right? And so when I just did my latest Slash model, he gave me a certain allotment for free that are mine, and those are the only ones that I have. Anything else beyond that I have to buy. And I just bought 4 JCM 800s.
That's quite interesting to know.
From him recently. So
Really?
they give me dealer price, but I still pay for them.
Oh, right.
The little 5-watt is an amp that was based off of the Slash model.
The Class 5.
And so they gave me one of those, but it's got my name on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you actually contribute in the development of other models, like the Vintage Modern, which you were...
The Vintage Modern I didn't really develop in any way, but they sent it to me to see what my thoughts were on it, and so I made a couple comments and sent them back. And so there was a couple tweaks that were made based on things that I said, but I mean the Vintage Modern came as it was, and it required very little adjustment as far as that goes.
All right. Okay. So,
you didn't want any other inside dirt, man? Well, I don't think we ever really talked about it. Marshall's always been, he hasn't, he puts his amps out there, and there's not really a lot said. Here's an ad, here's an amp.
Use it.
Or whatever. And so we never did a lot of talking and promoting and so on. So that's why.
That's why. So I heard the first contact with Marshall was an old Aerosmith vinyl thing. Like,
what do you mean?
You heard?
You first got hooked on Marshall's sound.
Yeah.
The thing is when you're a kid, I don't know how much time we have. Do we have a lot of time? Okay.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, right? You have to think, where do you learn what you learn? Because when I started out, I didn't know anything about anything. When I was a kid raised, I knew electric guitars, and I knew, because I used to go to a lot of gigs with my parents, and I go to a lot of recording sessions and stuff, and I used to get really excited just seeing the gear standing there. They didn't even have to be playing it, just set up. That to me was really exciting. But I never learned anything about names of stuff, how it worked, or any of that kind of shit. So when I started playing guitar, it was very, very naive. I didn't know what the difference was between a guitar and a bass, technically. And so how I learned about the different stuff was like, Keith Richards, and he's got some Fender Twins, and he's playing a Telecaster, and that's what that sounds like. Jimmy Page's got a Marshall, and he's got a Les Paul, and that's what that sounds like. And you got Angus Young, it's got an SG and a Marshall, and that's how you start to learn what gear is, right?
Yeah.
But from a sonic point of view, I was listening to Toys in the Attic And in the song "Sweet Emotion," towards the end of the song, there's a place where it stops, and there's a break, and then the feedback happens, and then the drums kick in, and it goes to the outro of the song. And so there was this big swell, and I was like, "What is that?" So that's a Marshall. So casually, that's a Marshall.
That's Marshall.
Okay. I was like, "That's cool."
That's cool. Okay.
And it's not like I hadn't heard Hendrix or anything, but this particular sound just caught my ear,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Went on.
It was just I just noted that.
You noted down.
You know what? For me, it was Appetite for Destruction. Now everybody knows.
Yeah.
Seriously, that was the Marshall Les Paul sound. I totally dug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your first Marshall was a 50-watt super lead. Was written in the book, and was it a plexi or?
It was not a plexi, and I don't really remember too much about it, but it was a 50-watt. I remember that. I can't remember. I think it had the small letters.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a plexi.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking about of the design of the AFD. Maybe it's got some reminiscence.
No, the AFD. Well, I mean, sound-wise, I don't know if it does or not. With the AFD, what we did is we just,
the letterbox design. It's the
the
It's
actual
called
look at
letterbox,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. We didn't.
Yeah.
We made all that shit up on the spot.
Okay.
We didn't really do a lot of referring to any particular head. Santiago, who works for Marshall and does the designing over there, he and I worked shoulder to shoulder on that stuff. And like I don't study all this. I only know what I want to know.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of details I don't care. I was talking to Johnny Depp the other day, and he got on stage with Marilyn Manson, and he had this great fucking Les Paul Gibson Jr.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that was the only thing I was looking at. And so after the show, we were talking. He goes, "Yeah, it's a 59. With the little space between the pickup and the bridge, it's really small." And I was like, "No, I don't know about that."
You don't know.
Anyway, yeah. So I said, well, for that amp, we want the little letters. Yeah, that always looked cool. And on the faceplate, we'll have this, that. I don't know what it refers to.
Was it a choice like it's state of the art?
No.
At that time.
This is a good question.
Yeah.
I've never had any money. Okay, so like every time I had to get a piece of gear, there was some hustle involved, some trade, some bartering, whatever. And so when I would have, like, say, a Marshall half stack during the early Guns Club days, how I acquired that was definitely not going into a store and buying it. I got it some other way. So at one point, because I had a lot of chemical responsibilities to keep up with, I used to get rid of a lot of gear and then have to get gear again, right?
Okay.
And so at one point, I didn't have any amps, and it was right before we were supposed to go in the studio and do the Appetite record. And so somehow I finagled Marshall, not directly through Guitar Center, into loaning me some amps. And the Jubilee series, they weren't selling, and so they gave me 2 Jubilee stacks.
Really?
And
Okay.
that was my amp, because not because I even knew what it was. It was the only Marshall I could get.